Hello, viewers, and welcome to this special edition of the Leadership Advancement Mentorship Podcast, a podcast in which we highlight the journeys of leaders, their growth journey, their leadership development journey, and also how mentorship has influenced that journey. Because leadership is not a destination, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And in leadership, there's so many things in between A and B. So today I have with me one leader that you would like to hear from. I met her recently in a conference. And there's something I want you to know about a leader. There's something about a leader. There's a courage. I was observing her. I said, I would like to meet with her. Then we start talking and all that. I said, I'd like to have you on my podcast because there's this personality that she carries. She never knew I was observing her, but I was observing the courage. There's a way a leader carry himself or herself that makes a kind of statement. And that is why leadership is so visual. It's so visual. Welcome with me, Coach Bency Beals. Hi, Bency Beals. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. You are so wonderful. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So we want to know, who is Bency Beals? Tell us something about yourself. Yeah.
Wait a minute. We only have 30 minutes, though. I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness. Well, you're talking about a leadership journey and what really lights me up. And I got to tell you, like my leadership journey, you don't just start becoming a leader when you're an adult. That's kind of lit up in you when you're young. And for me, that kind of started in church. I began as a Sunday school teacher, and you've got these little kids that are looking at you, and they're looking at how I'm carrying myself. They're looking at, because you mentioned that, right? They're looking at this we call it chechi, right? In my language, and this older sister that's taking care of us and teaching us. And it's really important because I think the first step of leadership is truly modeling. And that stayed with me. It stayed with me as I, went throughout, started my career and became a leader, became a parent. I think modeling is so important. So many times, many people, including hey, listen, I'll put my dad out there, right? Do what I say, not what I do, type of thing. But people are truly looking at what you do, and they're going to emulate that, regardless of whether you're leading your children, if you're leading a team, if you come in the small things, if you come in a moment late, or, whatever it is, they're going to remember that one time that Bency came in late, oh, okay, it's okay with her. But if we're there and dedicated 10 minutes early, if we're there giving hugs and shaking hands and spending time with each other, if we're there, doing all of the things that, serving others, and people will follow. And so I do believe, how you carry yourself matters. And, also, Michael, I'm a person of faith. And so how I carry myself, for me, it means way so much more, because I'm also representing my beliefs. I'm representing, hey, I have favor. And if you want to know why I have favor, I'm happy to tell you about it, and I think once you attract that light, like you say, you're able to share, but it really goes back to who you are. And for me, I'm a person of faith. I love people, and I love to grow. And within that, I love to help other people grow.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I like what to talk about modeling. Yeah, because that's the thing about it. Someone said without a role model, you can play your role well. And that's the thing about leadership. Like I said, it's so visual. I don't know. I just keep on talking about this. Leadership is so visual. I think I'm going to make that the title of this podcast. That leadership is so visual, because the law of the picture says people do what people see, and that's something about leadership. It's not what you say that people do; it's what you do. And that's why, since leadership is so visual, we as leaders must pay attention to our practice. There must be no discord between our values and our actions. There must be an alignment. Yeah. So can you share with us, Coach Bency, what is your leadership story? At what point did you become aware of your leadership potential? Because Papa John Maxwell wrote a book on developing the leader within you. He said until he brought that book out, people always think that some people are born leaders, but some, since they didn't win the lottery, they just have to be followers. So, but when that book came out and everybody saw that developing the leader within you, that means, oh, I have a leader within you. So that means everyone has a leadership potential. Potential means unused power. The question is, are you using yours? You can be looking at someone using their own power and start envying them, getting so jealous. But you have yours. Everyone has the leadership potential. So, but the question, but you can't tap into it until you become aware. So awareness is the first key to change. And after that, accepting responsibility to take action. So the question is, at what age, at what point in your life did you become aware of this leadership potential inside of you? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, as I reflect on that, I know that it came, I know that it started when I was maybe 17 or 18, and it did start in church, where I was, you know, being asked. People would ask me, hey, could you, you know, could kind of like the whole Sunday school thing, can you lead this youth group? And I'm like, okay, sure. I wasn't thinking about it as leadership. I was just thinking about it as teaching, right? And so when I got into a workplace, though, that's the first place. But when I got into the workplace, I started at Verizon. It was my first job out of college. And I went to New York, and I was in a retail store, and I became a single mom, and I had 3 and 4-year-old boys. So when you talk about your why, and I moved from very comfortable South Carolina to very expensive New York, and I had bills to pay. And so here I am in a retail store, and I just very quickly understood, okay, how does this whole thing work? And when I started doing very well in sales, I wanted everyone else to do well along with me. And so I would talk to other people and the people on my team, and I would say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And so then I started, because I was doing so well, I started leading trainings. Oh, well, if anyone wants to learn this concept that I'm doing, you can come at 7:30 in the morning. People started to come. So because I started doing that and our results in the store started to increase, I was able to get a position in leadership, right? And so it started as that. With 6 months in the store, I became the lead salesperson, and then I became an assistant manager. But from the very beginning, I wanted to go into training. I really didn't want to lead the store, because I realized if I'm leading a store, I'm trying to get to results. I'm trying to help people make money, but I wanted to go into training because I wanted to help people grow. Right. I wanted to help them go, where do you want to go in your career? You want to learn how to sell. Let's talk about the psychology of it. Let's talk about the person in front of you, not the money in your pocket. And I wanted to talk about theories and concepts. And so because I was doing well, leading well, my results were showing for it, I think networking is a part of it. I started to meet people, you know, and expand my sphere of influence. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. And so I think once that's something that you know, you have to model. So I'm modeling all of this leadership. People are hearing my name. And so I said, I want to train. And so I was able to get an opportunity to be a sales trainer. And that's when my training career started. I was able to also do some leadership training classes at Verizon. And then I ended up moving to Charlotte. And this is when really my leadership abilities emerged, because I was doing customer service training and there was a lot of downtime. And I couldn't just sit still on my downtime. So I would go and I would find out, well, what are the KPIs of this organization here in this center? And I would go to the different leaders and find out. And I would start thinking, like, why aren't we meeting these? We have all the tools, we have all the resources, we have everything we need. What's happening? That's when I realized that everything rises and falls on leadership. And that's when I started talking to the leaders and like, can I observe you in your one-on-one? Can I observe your team meetings? Can I observe? And that's when I started to read John Maxwell. And that's when I started to get into leadership books. And so
when was this?
Gosh, this was way back in like 2000. This was 2010. This
Because
was,
you made mention that at 17, 18, that's when you
yeah.
become aware of that potential. Did somebody tell you about it,
I
or
didn't become, actually, let me correct that. I didn't become aware of the potential there. I'm reflecting as an adult, and I know that that's when it's really, people started calling upon me. And
okay?
so I didn't realize that even at that time. But in hindsight, I realized, wow, I was really emerging as a leader. I was doing some praise dancing. And so these girls wanted to praise dance with me. And I would say, okay, well, it's not about us. It's not about what people say, great job. It's about their spirit. And how are they being blessed because of it? And so, I realized in retrospect that that was leadership.
Mm,
Just making sure that they knew why we were doing this. It's not about recognition. It's not about us. It's about the blessing that they're getting from this. What's the emotion that they're feeling? And so I use that framework, that's what's in me, whatever it is that I'm doing, whether I'm selling, whether I'm whatever program it is, it's all about what is the person going to get out of this, not me.
wow.
What is the person going to get out of this?
Mm,
So back to Charlotte, I started creating these leadership circuit training is what I called it. And so leaders would learn, hey, this is how you coach people. You can't coach them to the results. You got to coach them to their behavior. You help to get them self-aware, and those results are going to follow that. So I
mm,
think that's when that whole, just awareness of the concept of leadership began to become defined in my life.
mm,
That I had it. It started showing when I was young, but now it's like, and I knew I loved it and I embodied it like what I did in New York. I became successful. I want you to become successful. So people are asking me, oh, you need to go and be the assistant manager. You need to be the manager. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to train. I want to
mm,
get the heart and soul of people. But, God's will is God's will. And so when I came to Charlotte, he's like, no, I need you to lead, and I need you to lead these leaders. I didn't have a title. I was a customer service trainer. But
mm.
because the results started to move in the right direction,
Yeah.
the VP tapped me on the shoulder and said, Bency, can you move to Maryland and can you do the same thing? And your title is going to be a leadership coach now
Mm.
under the performance assurance umbrella. So then I
Wow.
began to take those programs, and I went to Maryland, and that's when I really started doing team builders, bringing the teams together. And sometimes, and this is also okay, sometimes people are in a role that's not meant for them, and therefore they're not happy.
Mm,
And Papa John said something in, I believe it's the 15 laws, and he says, why would you do anything that you don't love to do and call it life?
mm,
And
mm,
so I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, but I
mm,
believed it. And I'm
mm,
like, you don't want to do this. What do you want to do? You don't want to be in this call center. Tell me about your hopes. Tell me about your dreams. What do you think about at night? Oh, I love to bake cakes. Like that's what I do on the weekends. That's what I do. I'll never forget talking to this woman who was a supervisor. That's what she loved to do.
mm,
Ultimately, there was a big layoff that happened. And when she left, that's what she's been doing for the last 10 years is
mm.
baking cakes. And now that's her business. And so that
Yeah.
layoff ended up being a blessing. So I think
Mm.
it really also, leadership of self is a big deal. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in
Mm,
those circumstances, like this woman in particular,
mm,
even me, when I left corporate, it's like I could very easily, even today, Micheal, I could go back to corporate and I can make that money that I was making. I had a job offer 2 months ago,
mm,
making way more than I could have ever imagined. And as I'm on the call with him, just like I'm on the call with you, I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I feel like I'm not living my purpose, and no
mm.
amount of money is worth that. And I know that if
Wow.
I follow my purpose, that
Mm,
money is going to come. It's purpose over profit. I had to lead myself. I had to lead myself in my life. And there's a trade-off, right? There's a law of trade-offs.
mm,
Even though I know that there was a monetary trade-off at that time, I just know 100%, 1000% certainty that that trade-off is going to come back to me 1,000-fold, because
wow.
I
Wow.
want to give this to others,
Mm.
So
Wow. This is wonderful. Oh, wow, wow. I just love what you said. One of the things that you really said really stood out to me is just talking about in terms of the money thing, because and this is what really got people confused. And I tell people, if you want to know your purpose, if money will not be an issue, what will you do?
Right.
If you can take money out, you can have clarity about your purpose in life. And that's why success can be summarized in these 3 ways based on Papa John Maxwell. Number 1, knowing your purpose in life.
Yeah.
Number 2, he said, growing to your maximum potential. And 3, sowing seeds that benefit others. You have an opportunity 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But you say no, because it is the purpose in you that said no. Because when you are living, listen, the book I'm bringing out this month is called Live Life Big. The subtitle is Don't Live Your Dream. Leave, live your dream, live. Many people are not living their dream.
Right.
In fact, some people are not living at all. They are dead, just waiting to be buried.
Right.
Purpose is what gives meaning to life.
Yeah.
And that's why there's one quote I want to share based on what you talk about, because I just want some people to hear this, and this will really this will help somebody. Let me bring it out, because there's a group that I shared called the Thinkers Island. It's a group of professionals that I started years back. And that was 4 years ago after I joined the Maxwell group. And this is what it said. It said, this is by Jim Collins, the author From Good to Great. It said, true greatness comes in direct proportion to passionate pursuit of a purpose beyond money. If you want to experience true greatness, it has to go beyond the pursuit of money. You can pursue greatness and money together. Everyone that has become great in this world, they are in pursuit of a purpose beyond money. But money is the byproduct of that pursuit. Think about Amazon. Think about Walmart. At the point, Sam Walton was the richest man in America. Why? Because he found a purpose on how can I make goods available to people, groceries at a low price. That's the purpose. That's why the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but life without a purpose.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's something that you found. But one thing that stood out to me with what you're saying is, because one of the books I'm working on now is on self-leadership. You are able to lead yourself successfully, and people are now coming to you to help them. Because if you can't lead yourself successfully, you can help people. Now, but the question I'm really interested in that I want to ask you is this. How I haven't discovered the leadership potential inside of you. Can you tell us what price you pay to grow yourself? Because people need to hear that. Because as I'm listening to you, I'm getting so much value. I know we have a short time, but tell us what was your leadership development as? I haven't become aware of this potential, because potential is not enough. You have to grow it. So tell us, what price have you paid in growing your leadership? Thank you.
The biggest price I paid was at the expense of another. And there's no bigger price than that. So after I had all of these great experiences, I went into sales so I could move back home to Chicago. And I ended up becoming a leader of a sales team downtown Chicago, business to business. And, it was very high pressure to make sales, very high pressure team that I was around. And so I have all of this training that I was doing. Imagine that, all of this great things that I've done in the past. And then I spent 1, 2, 3 years in sales in different areas before becoming a leader of a sales team. And I got in the way of what I know to be the right thing to do, right? And so what I mean by that is, I want to help people. I want these people to do well, but I wanted them to do well my way. That's
Mm,
what I realized in retrospect. I wanted them to do well my way. And I realized like they weren't following me. They liked me. They thought I was nice, but I wanted them liking me meant more to me at that time than good leadership.
mm,
So I had to really realize that I don't I think it was at the detriment and it wasn't allowing me to lead them well. I was being over collaborative. I was being overly just letting things go. I wasn't being as directive as I needed to be in the
mm,
sales leadership role. And in the areas I was being directive, it was more coming from the pressure than the value that I was pulling out of them. And so the good thing is, and so I could tell like morale on my team. So when you say what was the cost, it was the morale of those people. It was, there were certain people that had to be let go. And when
mm,
I thought about that later, I'm like, if I came at this
mm.
with the way that I was training those leaders years ago, I think everything would have been done so much differently. But
Wow.
I allowed that pressure. I allowed the
Mm,
way all the other leaders were leading around me. I allowed them to, and I'll take full responsibility over it. I allowed them to just kind of, I took over their type of leadership when I felt in my heart that, you know what, this isn't me. I don't
mm,
want to lead this way. And I changed it. I
mm,
did. I went back to Papa John. That's why I joined the John Maxwell team
mm,
when I decided I could, there's a lot of places I could have gone, but
mm.
John Maxwell keeps it real. He keeps
That's
it,
good. That's
he
good.
said,
Yeah.
are you valuing
Mm,
these people?
mm,
And I had to come face to face in the mirror. And I said, the things that I'm thinking about my team, like, man, why aren't they doing this right? And are they lazy? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? That's not valuing them, that's judging them. And
mm,
so I had to really take a step back. And when I did that, I completely changed.
mm,
I completely changed my focus. I came back
mm,
to the heart of coaching, of who
mm,
I am. Um,
mm,
I had to reflect back on a lot of things, and I still wish I would have done things differently, but I'm
mm,
very grateful that I did become aware of it. I turned
mm.
it around. And so I say all that to say, like, listen, even greatly, like today, I feel like, yes, I'm great. I love leading. I love teaching leadership. I love coming into a company and really being able to transform a business. But that's because I had to learn from failure.
Wow.
If my journey was straight, then what am I supposed to talk about? I
Mm,
understand the pressures of an organization. I understand when there's someone on your team who hates their job and who hates all of this stuff. How do you coach that? You have
wow.
to be able to coach the person. Forget
Mm,
about the results. Forget about this company you work for. Think about this person in front of you. Think about them as a human. Value them. They need to make sure that we say this a lot, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how
yeah.
much you care.
Yeah.
Is very simple.
Mm,
Humanity, they just want to be accepted. And
wow.
sometimes there's another job that's for someone. You can actually help people find a different role
Mm,
and make them feel so good about it because it's lying within their purpose. And that's ultimately what I was able to do. But
wow.
I had to learn. I had to learn in my own leadership.
That's good. Then tell us what, yeah, yeah. So you've talked about the price of letting some things go, but what about the price of personal development? How do you grow yourself to become the leader that we're talking to today?
Well, I invest in myself. So
How?
I read on a daily basis, whether I am
Mm,
reading a book, whether I am listening to a podcast, whether I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm I'm reading three different books right now, and I also talk to people who are further along. You talked about mentorship.
yeah.
I talk to people who are, I had a mentor one time who said, Bency, you should run for the Board of Education. And I'm like, I can't do that. But because of their great leadership, I realized, wait a minute, I can do that, you
Mm,
know? And so I think it's being part of groups like that so you can learn from other leaders and invoke your leadership abilities, but
mm,
also adding value to yourself, like learning. I joined the Maxwell team because I learned about the Maxwell team, that it existed because I joined someone else's masterclass.
Mm,
I paid money and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. And then I went to the next one.
mm,
This is when I was still working because I
mhm.
knew this isn't what I want to do. Like, I can't stay here. First one was put your dream to the test. The second one, I did one of,
Oh, that's a good book.
yes, it is. And then I did a master class of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So yeah, I'll spend money on it. This is value to me, so I will join master classes. I'll get myself certified in different classes. I will, spirituality is very important to me. So I will also, either if I'm not leading a Bible study, I will join a Bible study because I think all of those things,
Yeah.
are
They
very,
had up.
very
Yeah. Mm,
important. I think
that's
are.
good. That's good. Now, last question. What is the greatest lesson that you've learned as a leader?
Mm. The greatest lesson I've learned as a leader, that it's not about me. I don't know how a lot of times what I used to do is ask people questions to kind of get them to where I wanted them to go. This is my idea. This is where I want them to come.
Mm.
What I've learned rather as a leader is try to understand where the person is at,
Mm.
and really truly understand it. And that covers whether you're leading as a parent, whether you're leading young people, whether you're leading a team, whether you're
Yeah.
whatever element it is, you need to lead that human right where they're at. And I think that's one of the best lessons I've learned, even in parenting. I mean, I've had plenty of parenting failures because I want them to be where I'm at. I
Mm.
want my team to be where I'm at. I want,
Mm.
everyone to be, but that's what I've learned. It's not
Mm.
about me at all.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
all about them. And I need to ask the right questions, understand where they are, and okay, that's where we're going to be. That's what we're going to create. And they're going to create it. I'm going to be the partner for them to help them along their way. And so they can get to the steps of surpassing me,
Mm.
you know?
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the law of connection. Connection is all about others. It's not about you. And that's from directing to connecting in the leader's shift. That's awesome. How can people find you and where can they find you? Yeah.
Yeah, so people can just my company is Ignite Transformational Living. You could just Google it. I'm in South Carolina, but I do travel, and obviously we live in a virtual world, and I'm so happy to help anybody that I can, connect anybody, that I'm able to. So Ignite Transformational Living, and if you Google it, you'll be right at my website, and all my information is there.
Wow. Thank you, Coach Bency Beals, and for having you on this podcast. We're going to bring you back again because you got so much fire inside of you. And we're so thankful that the time that you can share and has so much value to leaders and emerging leaders that are listening and watching us. My name is Dr. Micheal Koku. I believe you have been impacted by this session. Next week, we're going to bring to you another leader of caliber that's going to add more value to you. Don't forget, information is not enough. The key to transformation is action. So act on what you've learned today and experience true transformation. Thank you.